question is, putting up your Christmas tree before December, is that normal or not?
I think I was taught that you do it on the 1st of December. Is it
Mm.
something that you do on the 1st of December?
Well, in our house when we were kids, it was always the 1st of December. My sister loved going and getting the Christmas tree. It was usually like a couple of days later because my birthday was so late in November that my mum was always like, no, you celebrate birthdays first and then December is for Christmas.
Yeah.
And one of my girlfriends was born on the 10th of December, and mum started doing, well, that's fine. Christmas tree and decorations go up after your birthday
On the 11th. Ah.
because it was at
We
the
have
start.
Melody's birthday, my daughter's, is the 22nd of December.
Oh, wow. So that's close. My
Very close.
girlfriend Jamie's is Christmas Day, but
Yeah.
she just changed it to during the year, sort of
Yeah.
thing. And then she just doesn't even do, she's like, nah, I don't even do my actual birthday anymore. My birthday is this time. And she doesn't want it to infringe, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so is it normal to put up the Christmas tree before December?
I think it's early.
You think it's early?
But I mean, who knows? Some people love Christmas, eh? So they get in
Oh,
early and
we need to tag Kerry Ellis in this. She's got like this whole like train set, I think, that goes around the Christmas tree and it's all like
oh,
white. She does this whole like Maya's window thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
inside her house. And I swear she would just have Christmas set up for the entire year.
I'll tell you what though, if the conference is in November,
Mhm.
then why don't we do it late November one year and do it Christmas?
Yeah. Christmas in November, everybody bring everyone a present.
That'll be so funny. You have like a Santa Claus.
Reg would love
No,
that, wouldn't
Santa, is that Rich can be Santa Claus? Yeah, that'd be fun.
he? It'd be funny. So
No
yeah,
Santa.
let us know in the comments if you put up your Christmas tree before December, so we can go, no, stop that. You need to put it up when you hit December.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All
Oh,
right. So today we wanted to talk about what hypnotherapy can help you with, because there's a lot of people that, that they're not quite sure what's involved with our training these days.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I thought it'd be good, yeah, also to talk about I did an expo on the weekend, and even though hypnotherapy in New Zealand is quite well known and used and pretty mainstream, there was still quite a lot of people that thought it was just closing your eyes and being talked to.
Mm,
So it's really good to talk about in the trainings what we actually learn,
mm,
because there's a lot of psychotherapy in there. There's a lot of it is around conversational language. There's counseling in there. There's brain, like in the Hypnosis New Zealand one, there's a basic brain basics, going into the parts of the brain and how it affects our behavior. So there's so much in it. When you learn hypnotherapy, people just assume it's an induction and then language, a certain kind of language that you speak to someone with their eyes closed, and that's it. But underneath that, in the training these days, I'd say, maybe not in the past, but there's so much to it, like what people
mm,
learn.
mm. And it's so different. Like the hypnosis that you have for weight loss is different to the hypnosis you have for pain,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So we all know that hypnosis is for quit smoking, weight loss, those base level sort of things, you know.
yeah,
In Australia, one of the biggest things I get asked for with hypnosis is past life, so more that spiritual based stuff.
yeah. That's
But
big time. Like,
yeah, yeah. And the thing is, one thing that kind of does disappoint me with so many people, they slap that down
yeah,
and can make someone feel like, oh, like you shouldn't be asking that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What I don't understand is, why wouldn't you embrace that, even if you don't do it yourself? Okay, embrace it and then say, we can also do, I work with.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
if you don't do past life, you don't slap that person down because it's their belief system. You can always say, I don't personally work with past life. However, my friend Justine does,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
you
I
know.
think with with things like past life and the spiritual hypnosis is, people ask me, is it real, or why does it work, or how do people get the results? And at the end of the day, if it's real or not real, if people are getting benefit from it and it's helping them, it's about working within
Mm,
the client's view of reality, isn't it?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
And I personally love, like, my niche particularly is gut issues.
yeah,
So hypnotherapy can help with diverticulitis, Crohn's disease, IBS, irritable bowel disease, GERD, all of those symptoms and the pain that's associated with them. And also like food fears that we generate when we have these gut issues, because we're thinking, oh, I don't know if I can eat that. And that activates our nervous system and puts it on alert. And because our nervous system is on alert, doesn't kind of matter what you eat from there, it's
you're going
going
to
to
get
be on alert. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then your mind might turn around and go, oh, well, now I can't eat that. When it comes to all of these issues, whether it's gut related or anything else, it's not it's not all in your head. It's of your mind. And your mind's protecting you by communicating to the nervous system, either the heart brain, the secondary brain in your gut, or your cranial brain. They're all interlinked, and they all want you to survive in the best way that it knows how to help you survive based on experiences and memories.
yeah, 100%.
So what
So
about
that,
people?
I was just going to say, and it's interesting talking about that. This weekend, I used to always only get, most of at the Women's Expo, it was always weight loss, weight loss, weight loss,
Mm,
and nearly everyone talked about pain. It was always, people, oh, can you help with pain, or
mm.
uh, cancer stuff going around, or nervous system disorders. It was the most talked about thing this weekend, coming from people, curious whether hypnotherapy can help with pain, and boy, can it! What it can
Oh,
massively pain and nervous system
it,
disorders.
it
Yeah,
it's next level stuff when it comes to pain, because whether it's our enteric nervous system or just the normal nervous system, it's weaved in with everything. So any kind of little pain, from a backache to chronic regional pain, so CRP, hypnotherapy can assist with that. Because even myself, I recently had a session, and I wasn't sure if the pain I was feeling was real pain from my diverticulitis, or if it was a phantom pain from me going, oh, I had this, is there something stuck there, you know? And when you talk about phantom pains, it's not saying, look, this is all in your head and you're being dramatic and all this sort of stuff. This is just your nervous system going, look, I've had a problem in this area. Now I want to protect that. And if I give you a phantom pain, it's just because I want to protect you. And when we talk to the mind and the nervous system and where it is inside of the body and ask it to just, hey, can you just let go? Because I can protect myself, but thank you for being there for when it really does happen. That's when we can learn to distinguish between real pain
yeah,
and the
yeah,
phantom pains,
yeah, 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 yeah,
you know? And
yeah,
also, when it comes to hypnotherapy for pain, it's not just about alleviating the pain, it's about educating you on pain limits as well. Because pain to me and pain to you, they're different things. You might get a paper cut and, oh, world is over.
they
And
are
I,
sharp.
yeah. So Justine doesn't like her paper cuts, where me, I have got, say, 10 stitches in my hand going, oh, look at that. Because our pain
I can
thresholds are
handle
different.
really heavy, like I can handle like body pain, like interior pain, the dowel, like the backaches and the stuff, but sharp pains that touch the surface of the skin, oh, my body doesn't like that whatsoever.
Mm. And
Like the little,
it's
yeah,
learning about your body and how you decipher it. No person's pain is inferior to any other person's pain.
mm,
It's your pain. So let's work on that. And let's work on, number one, educating you to what the limits are. because just because you want to get out in the garden for 10 hours today because the sun's beautiful and then be all crippled tomorrow doesn't mean that that's the right path
Yeah,
for you and your body.
yeah. And with hypnosis, for people that don't know much about it, I've got this website, the Hypnosis New Zealand membership. In the back end, there's actually a video in there, and you can probably find it on YouTube, of a lady, Sharon, getting her tooth extracted in hypnosis. And that whole video goes into surgeries being done without anesthetic,
That's how it
abdominal
was originally
knee,
done.
knee surgeries and things like that. So when you think our body has the ability to numb an area to the point that, you know, people can be operated on, our mind is a very powerful tool when it comes to pain, um, pain relief. And when you can learn to actually move within those states yourself, it's quite a powerful thing. I know this weekend at the expo, I had a vitamin C infusion, which I love, just to boost the body up and the immune system. And they were struggling because I hadn't had enough water with getting my veins. And so of course they were feeling a little bit stink, but here I was, like, just zoning out over not feeling anything, putting my attention or awareness on people that were walking around the room, and just having that kind of ability to move my focus outside of the body to somewhere else, so that I don't get so I don't need to notice what's happening, as a powerful tool to have. And those kind of things are learned through hypnosis and through the sessions.
And that leads to a really valid point as well of what we in the gaming industry call qualia. So QOLA, and that's quality of life actions, whatever you want to call it. So when it comes to hypnotherapy, you can have qualia sessions, and a qualia session might be as simple as releasing that fear of needles.
Yeah.
If you've got chronic hiccups, they're usually quite small sessions that can help you with your quality of life. Hair pulling, lip picking, nails,
Yeah.
bruxism,
Yeah.
grinding your teeth, nose picking, you
Yeah.
know. And then there's and then like the even simple habits. I myself had a quality of life session probably about 10 years ago now, and I was getting my makeup tested for a wedding, and the lady couldn't line up the makeup properly in this one section here. And it wasn't until she put the makeup on, and then I was doing something, and instantly I was like, and that was just a nervous reaction that I did to calm myself. But then she said to me, "You're going to end up with a scar in that spot if you keep doing this." And I thought, oh, okay. So I went and had a quality of life session with the hypnotherapist, and now I don't touch that one spot. So quality of life sessions are usually just one, sometimes two sessions, and they can nip little things in the bud.
Hmm. Yeah.
Also, like to elaborate that on that even more is so there are some people that want to be more honest. So they have an issue with telling little white lies because mum or dad said to them little white lies are fine, but then it become habitual. You can have
Yeah.
that readdressed,
Yeah.
you know, and even enhancement of qualities. So if you've got someone like, say, you don't want to wear your glasses for whatever reason, but you know they're going to benefit you, you can have a quality of life session to encourage you to automatically wear your glasses.
Yeah. And that goes to the sessions that I've seen people having sessions for eyesight, and
Mhm.
in classes that I've done, it's really interesting. Just for fun, I've had someone that can't read, like on a can, the writing, but putting them into trance and telling them that they can, and then being able to read perfectly fine. And then, of course, when they come out to that space, they put the glasses back on and they go back into the state that they've already been in. You know what I mean? And when you think your eyesight is, a lot of your eyesight can be affected by allergies, the nervous system. Things can happen with the connection between your eye to the part of your brain that takes the messages in. It's
Mhm.
really interesting what you can find hypnotherapy can help. And for people that don't think the research is there, go onto the back. What is it? Google Scholar. You will find probably hundreds of thousands now. There are so many research articles on the effectiveness of hypnosis. It's I started doing just pulling just a few together for little things for HNZ and CHA, I need to remember to keep on doing that. But I would just type in, say, weight loss hypnotherapy, and boom, there'd be
And
pages.
see the
Or
latest studies.
it's there is so much research looking into hypnosis, and then of course you have the research with the CIA and the government. You can go onto the back end of there's different websites of research done by the CIA into hypnosis for lots of different things, not
Especially
just things.
COVID hypnosis.
Yeah, it's the covert hypnosis, and yeah, there's so much in it. And then if you go to someone that's trained in hypnotherapy and maybe trauma informed therapy, then of course, as long as people are trained to a level where they can, hypnosis is really effective in supporting PTSD, anxiety, depression, anything related to the mind, because a lot of those conditions that have been diagnosed as a mental illness, a lot of the time are just responses from past experience and an over a dysregulated nervous system. And so when people are working through mainstream help and given a diagnosis, it's really good to get nervous system support and work with hypnotherapy just to work out what is mental illness and what are just responses from past experiences that our mind and body is doing to feel safe. And you know, a
Absolutely.
lot of the time it is just a dysregulated nervous system. Do you know what I mean? So it's not saying we don't treat anything, but we can really help
We can help you with
support
the process.
with the
Yeah.
process, and even
And
things like sleep massively.
yeah, and we know that the body creates whatever the mind tells it to. So if
Yeah,
the mind tells it, I'm tired today, you get up in the morning, you're like, oh, I'm tired today. Well, your body's going to respond to that because your body is just following what your mind tells it. Body doesn't do anything without mind,
yeah.
you
Yep.
know? And like I even had one lady who had cancer treatment and she was told she was going to die before Christmas. And it was about 3 or 4 months. She came to me, I didn't know her from a bar of soap. She came to me for sessions, and her main reason for the session was she wanted to have a better relationship with her daughter before she exited the world because they had butted heads quite a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fine. I think we got to about the third, maybe fourth session. And she said to me, do you think that we could work on me feeling relaxed with the cancer? And I said to her, absolutely. Because I told her straight off the bat, look, I don't have any knowledge of cancer or the different cancers that are available and the treatments and stuff, but I can help you navigate your mind. Anyway, what she ended up doing was she went into surgery. She had stage 4 breast cancer, and they ended up putting these little nodes on the tumors so that if the cancer treatment did work and it shrunk, then they could still locate it. So that was fine. She went and had cancer treatment. It got to after Christmas, and she came back to me and she said to me, the nodes haven't shrunk. They put me on the wrong medication. And I said, oh, okay. Or the wrong treatment, I should say, because it was a medication. And I said, oh, okay, well, I said, we've gotten to past Christmas, so this is good. Anyway, she said to me she wanted to hit her 50th birthday. And I was like, sweet, let's aim for that, you know. And that was like, say, 8 months away. It was towards the end of the year. And she goes, yeah, she goes, I'm on this new medication. And I'm like, sweet. Couple more months went by. I touched base with her and she's like, no, she goes, that medication didn't work either. And they want to remove my breast. And I said, well, is this something that you want to do? And she said, no, they're not taking my breasts. I said, okay. I said, are you on any new medication? And she goes, no, I've taken a break from it because I've had enough. And I said, well, I said, hey, why don't you educate me? I'll help educate you. Come in once a week and right until your birthday, and we'll see if we can help you with, relaxing with this cancer and your prognosis. So she come in, and it was about 2 weeks before her birthday. She was classified as cancer free,
Wow.
and still to this day, I can message her, and she's like, "You saved my life." I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah.
no, you saved your life. I said, I was just the person that took your hand in the dark and said, come with me.
Yeah.
That's all I did,
Yeah.
you know. And what she ended up doing is, now this is a bit of a controversial one for anybody who is listening. Um, I had done some studies into what we call the mechanical elves, and I admit mechanical elves are all about taking drugs and psychedelics and things like that. No, I didn't tell the client to take the psychedelics whatsoever, but I did say to her, is there possibly a way that we could get you to develop someone inside of your mind that as you go to sleep each night, that person goes around your entire system and cleans up anything that's been touched by cancer? And what she did was she ended up inventing this little elf, this tiny little elf inside of her called Auntie Lindy. And Auntie Lindy every night would go around to the sections in her body and clean up any areas of muck, as she called it, um, and get rid of it and then dump it, ask the universe to take it away. So it would dump it. And that was her ritual every single night to go and do that. She didn't change her diet. She didn't take any medication. She didn't try anything like drinking her own urine or anything like that. She literally just employed Auntie Lindy to get her to relax, you know? And then she sent me a message saying, I'm off to Melbourne. I've got to go and do something. She goes, I'm feeling really good, but I've got to get a follow-up test. Maybe I do need to have my breasts removed. And I said, oh, well, I said, as you get to those steps, let me know. I'll help you navigate that field, do what we need to do. And by then, we're really good mates. Here I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I hope you don't have to go through this trauma. And yeah, and when she got the results of the scans, all there was the node. They couldn't find the tumor. So they instantly assumed that the node had dislodged from the tumor and maybe it's moved because cancer does move around. She went and had all the scans and tests, and another couple of weeks later, she's ringing the bell in the cancer ward saying, I am cancer free.
Yeah. How
And
the bloody mind day.
yep, and still to this day, she'd be due to hit about 60 now.
Yeah.
Still to this day, she doesn't have cancer,
Yeah.
you know?
It's incredible what can happen, eh?
Oh, just incredible. And especially when you start to take control of your mind and what it is that you want to do, you know? And like it's not just it and it's different for everyone. But what you've got to do is you've got to employ a therapist with the idea that we're going to work together. We're going to navigate this territory together.
Yeah.
You're going to
And the
apply
mindset that
yourself to yourself.
it's possible, way. Like
Yeah.
always being open to possibilities and
Yep.
and just having that mindset of what will happen, but
Mm.
let's give it a shot. You know what I
And
mean?
how many times did you see the Olympians in Paris already on that starting podium already had decided in their mind that they had ended that race and they had done an amazing
Yeah,
performance?
you could see them, eh? Because
Yep.
they were doing the hypnosis, they were doing the practice, they were there. Yeah.
They were doing it. They were
Speaking of that,
playing it out.
yeah. And I was talking to Stuart yesterday,
Yep.
and Stuart does works with the Olympians, and he's a great guy. And
Oh, he's
that's
amazing.
another thing that hypnosis does help. It doesn't just work on issues and past stuff and illness. It can be it's widely used for performance and for
Mm,
getting to the next step. And a lot of the time, it's called a performance coach, or you go to someone for business coaching.
mm.
But a lot of the techniques that are learned in hypnotherapy are, of course, cross over to coaching. and
Well, you
and
see it with pianists as well, and even guitarists. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's a sport or a hobby. You can see a pianist, and what they'll do is they'll be like, and they relax the whole body, the whole mind, and then they install all of their trust into their hands and go. And you watch a pianist, and you think, wow,
and
you've been playing for half an hour. How do you remember all those notes for half an hour? And the thing is, they don't.
yeah,
But
it's all translated.
trusted themselves to go into trance and that their fingers know the path to take.
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's not just sports stuff, it can be hobby stuff as well. Like you said, business coaching, how to get over those money blocks, or make sure that your business is Yeah,
Yeah.
going in the right direction. Also, communication as well. Like some people, you just think, oh, you just came across as the most aggressive arsehole just then. You could have said the exact same thing in a much better way and really elevated your position,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
you
totally.
know? So it can help with communication as well. One that I do love doing, and I do this with adults as well, is learning and spelling. So you can do learning and spelling with hypnosis, so that way you can, you know,
Language, learning
yeah,
language, eh?
yeah, get better at mathematics, get better at spelling, get faster at reading,
Yeah.
get even better at absorbing information. So there are some people that have memory issues, so that they just don't absorb. It's like, all right, let's do some hypnosis and get you to really suck it in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've worked with people for strokes before. I have a
Oh yeah.
story that I tell my student about my dad who had had a stroke and he couldn't shave. And I only heard a year later through the hairdresser that what we had done had worked. But apparently, with dad, it wasn't a big elaborate thing. It was just close your eyes and just,
Quality of
just
life.
remember shaving. Basically, it was
Mm.
only took a few minutes together, but the next morning he apparently got up and shaved as if nothing had ever happened. And before that, he wasn't able to do that at all. The brain and the body connection just wasn't working, and that only took a few moments, just asking the mind to just reconnect and remember. And we were talking about piano before. I was listening to something, I think Joe Dispenza was talking about it, with this experiment where they got one group of people to practice for 2 months specific piano exercises for 2 hours. They hadn't played a piano before.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been shown the exercises to do, and they had to do it, every day for 2 hours for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got another group of people where they got them to watch the exercises and never touch a piano, but they had to also practice the same amount in their mind from what they had seen on the day when it started. When they checked their brain scans, there was no difference in the brain and the way it had fired and connected between the people that were actually practicing and the people that were doing it via imagination. And another research was around a pain, showing basically burning someone's hand
Mm-hmm.
and then putting someone into an altered state and getting them to remember being burned or imagine being burned, and how the brain fired up in exactly the same way
Mm-hmm.
as being. There was no difference in the readings when they were testing what was
Have
going
you
on.
seen the experiment? There's two of them. Have you seen the experiment where they get someone to put their hand on the
Yeah,
bench and then they've got the mirror and it
yeah,
looks like
yeah.
there's a hand and they put a fake hand and then hit it with a hammer and everyone's
Yeah,
like, or there's another experiment as well where they get everybody to close their eyes and what they do is they cook a piece of meat with a blowtorch and everybody is breathing it in and they cook it until it gets to burning stage. Then what they do is they take a piece of ice and they'll sit it on the person's hand and that person will start screaming, thinking that their hand is being burnt and it's a
yeah,
piece of ice.
yeah, 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 yeah. Interesting, eh?
It's
Our brain is so powerful, and when you look at those,
powerful.
the different the research that's coming out, you can see how hypnotherapy is so effective.
Mm.
Because even I remember one day, I think I was at the warehouse, and a woman probably in her 70s had fallen over and broken her hip. And there were
No.
people sitting around, and she was screaming and crying. And I just sat down with her and held her hand and got her to close her eyes and tell me about her favorite place, her holiday place. So she
Yeah.
started telling me about this place in the South Island. She told me what it was like, and there was no pain and no crying. She was just quietly talking to me until about 20 minutes later, up comes the ambulance and they touch her. Does this hurt? And then I'll tell you what, they
Come
touch
out of trance.
and so our mind is incredibly powerful. So even in those times when someone has just smashed a hip to pieces,
Mm-hmm.
falling over on the ground, an elderly person, the minute we got the imagination and the minute we took her to a place, a beautiful place, her mind was not in her body anymore. She was somewhere completely different. Her brain responses, and the mind is incredibly powerful. One thing that you do when you um, when you go to a hypnotherapist, especially a good hypnotherapist, is they'll educate you at the same time. So
Mm.
it's not just about, hey, I'm
You
going to
have to be
put
willing to be educated.
this. Yeah, yeah. It's the little things that you learn during the session about how your mind works,
Mhm.
about how you can implement what we're doing here in your day-to-day stuff, like self-hypnosis, like visualization, like turning off triggers, like starting, like you did, starting to have an awareness of, is this pain real or not? Is it
Mm.
in imagination? Is it psychosomatic, or is it really there? But starting to even having that awareness of knowing, is it or isn't it, gives you some power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It gives
absolutely.
some sense of control in what's going on. Yeah.
And also touching note on that, there are people out there that'll go, hypnosis doesn't work. I want to apologize to all of those people is if they've gone to somebody who probably hasn't had the correct level of training or didn't have the resources. I honestly apologize because unfortunately that does happen inside our industry. And when you employ a hypnotherapist or you start considering going to hypnotherapy, the number one path to success for you is to open your mind.
Mm.
Open your mind to education, to forgiveness, and really be ready to let go.
Yep.
Because when you're working with that hypnotherapist, if for some reason you're like, oh, hey, I went to hypnotherapy and it didn't work, well, there's usually one of those three factors that was closed off at the time.
Yeah.
Whether you didn't want to forgive because you're like, oh, well, that person deserves to, whatever, whatever. It's not about forgiving them. You forgive yourself because you deserve to be forgiven. You deserve to be set free from this,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
When it comes to, opening your mind, so that's in other words, being educated as such, it's allowing yourself to notice something from a different perspective rather than what is something not doing for you, what is it doing for you? Because it might be something that's really shit. Let's just say it's something like trauma. And holding on to it has given you the ability to step back, to, be more quiet, to slow down. They're the positive qualities that this trauma has given you, but you haven't managed to find a healthier way to do it. So you hold on to the trauma for that reason. A lot of people do it with grief. So they hold on to the grief because that's the only connection they have with that person, rather than tapping into those happier memories of when they used to bake cookies or something like that, you know? So you really have to make sure you are ready to open yourself up, to become educated, you know, to forgive. Forgive yourself for allowing this person to hurt you. You may have been innocent, you may not have been. It's not your fault that it happened, but it is your responsibility to fix it. And then to let it go. And we're not talking about letting it go in a physical sense. We're talking about reassessing how it affects you and then going, how can I use this?
Mm.
How can I make this work for me in a healthy way? Because the greatest revenge in the world is moving on, being happy after this shit has happened, moving to that place going, you know what, that part sucked. It destroyed me. It buried me into the ground. But I turned around and went, you know what? I can get past this and be happy again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
you have to employ because that's what our goal is for you. We want you to succeed. We want you to let it go. We want you to forgive. We want you to level up.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
us, none of us want to see you again. I know that sounds malevolent, but none of us want you coming back every week for 2, 3 years.
No.
You
No.
know,
No.
we,
Therapy.
we want to see you down the street and go, hey, look at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We don't want you to keep coming back for sessions unless you feel something
So
niggling
we're
and you're
very
like,
forward
let's get the
focused.
matrix.
Our goal is to get people going where they need to go and not becoming regular clients,
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
We're not just you know, I don't want to sound like I'm bagging out anyone, but we're not like a psychologist where you come back every week for like 6 years, tell us all your problems, you know.
Yeah.
we want you to get to that stage where you're resourceful, where you're independent, where you know that you're fine to go out into this world with all this mixture of humans and circumstances and events, and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna
Yeah,
survive. Sure, you might have a shitty day, but it doesn't make a shitty life, you know?
yeah, yeah. One thing I had this weekend, which was, and I don't know how true it was. I'd say possibly a little bit of it was, but a lady told me that a psychologist who was doing hypnotherapy told her that she couldn't be hypnotized after trying to work with her for a while. Now, this is something that I hear all of the time. Yes,
Mm,
and
no.
I did, I didn't roll my eyes on the outside. I wasn't disrespectful, but I definitely rolled my eyes on the inside because
I'm rolling my eyes on the outside now.
no, no, but it's such a that's why I'm questioning. I don't really feel that that was probably said. I think that was an assumption from
Interpretation.
the interpretation of what happened. But and explaining once again the state of hypnosis. I mean, it's something that's happening all of the time. And I just once again I looked at the lady and said, are there things in your life that you don't want to be doing and you can't stop? You know, then those are what's making it that you can't stop. What's driving you to do these behaviors? You're in trance. This particular lady was permanently in trance, and I did say to her, well, you know, you're very easy to work with, but for someone that doesn't know what they're doing, it's quite hard when someone's always in trance to be able to bring them into a state to work with. So whoever you were working with obviously didn't understand that you're permanently in trance. Okay, the lady didn't like that and she walked away. Um,
So she
probably
wasn't ready to
her
open
sense
her
of
mind.
control, but the glassy eyes, you know, you
She
can see
wasn't
it.
ready to be educated.
No, there's you know, there's plenty of us that do live in an altered state pretty much permanently, and all it means is that our emotions are larger, our anxiety can be bigger, but creating things is way easier. So there's a good side and
Some
a
people
bad
also
side to creative mind, but you know,
some people also don't want to recognize the solution demon,
yeah,
because the solution demon is too big. And that can be in weight loss, quit smoking, it can be in anything, because it takes too much energy and effort for them to go, you know what, realistically, I know I'm going to have to lose weight as such for 3 years before I even get down to my ideal weight.
yeah.
And the
And
the,
you
the
do
two
have to put the effort in as well. It's not
yeah,
just
yeah. So whether it's going to the gym or eating the food or whatever, but they're looking at the end game. It's like, by all means, have that end goal in mind. But let's just bring it back to just for today.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
when you go to sleep that night, reset, and the next day, just for today. I'm
yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
eat healthy. I'm going to go for a walk. Just for
yeah.
today.
And I was thinking like this, I was thinking while I was driving over to the expo about, you know, when people ask me about weight loss and hypnotherapy, does hypnosis make you lose weight? And I was thinking to myself that hypnosis itself, if your nervous system is dysregulated and it shows as weight, then listening to a hypnosis recording that's going to support nervous system regulation, of course, can start supporting weight loss. But hypnotherapy itself doesn't make people lose weight. It's the changes that happen in your behaviors and your and you know and how you feel about yourself that supports weight. So
It
hypnotherapy
makes eating healthier food easier.
easier,
It
yeah,
makes
and emotions
resisting,
away.
yeah, it
Yeah,
makes resisting bad foods easier. So you won't
yeah,
hear that voice that's like, oh, there's one biscuit left, I gotta eat that.
yeah. And if you're
You know?
emotionally eating, we don't say stop emotionally eating.
Mm,
We sort out the underlying emotions that are going on that are driving the behavior. And if those emotions don't pop up, then you don't emotionally eat.
yeah,
So, so
exactly.
the weight loss is like a byproduct of the hypnotherapy sessions. People
Mm,
might be coming in for weight loss hypnotherapy, and yeah, we do magic tricks like gastric band to reduce food. So we do a little bit of the old school hypnosis where we can do a bit of mind magic, but the majority of the stuff we're doing would be classed more the psychotherapy. They're working out what's driving the behavior underneath, or if it is nervous system dysregulation,
mm,
we do things to support sleep.
mm,
I talk to my clients about the importance of going outside and walking slowly for 30 minutes a day, looking up at the trees and hearing the wind blowing for your nervous system. Is that hypnosis? Probably quite hypnotic when I'm saying to you, okay, what I want you to do is every day, okay, just through conversation. But it's not the close your eyes, it's the
We can do it with the eyes open, eyes closed,
exactly.
no eyes at all.
Yeah. But it's like
that.
the result of the hypnotherapy is almost like a byproduct or the what comes from the
It's a
therapy
positive
that's done
gain.
with the sessions. Yeah.
Another
So
thing hypnotherapy can help with, and not a lot of therapists will dabble into this, is restless legs.
yeah.
It's also great for those sleep habits as well, because there are people out there that, they once they get to sleep, they wake up and then they can't get back to sleep. It's fantastic for that. There's some people out there that the process of getting to sleep is the problem, and once they're asleep, it's fine. So we can help you with that, because sleep is habitual, and sleep is one of the biggest issues, especially here in Australia. If you look at the statistics on it, it's one of the biggest issues when it comes to stress, working, family, because people don't get really good quality sleep. It's not the
what's it
amount of
called?
sleep, it's a good quality sleep. So, hypnotherapy for sleep, or anything to do with sleep, whether it's getting to sleep, staying asleep, getting up during the night, whether you've got to pee at night, like you can, because I had this hypnotherapy done as a quality of life session, because I was like, oh my gosh, I always have to get up to pee at 2 o'clock. And I want to tell my brain that it's not that big of an issue. You can hold it for a little bit longer, because I was getting up at like 6, and I was like, look, why can't you just hold on to it for a little bit longer? So I had a
Yeah.
session, and now, majority of the time, I'm sleeping through until I need to. And then it's like, oh, because I'm not going to pee the bed, you
Yeah.
know? I'm trusting my body to look after me, and to also go, she needs sleep more than what she does to pee right now, which is not really going to be a lot.
Yeah.
So
I
even
don't know
those
why
little
I'm
things.
thinking about. I was going to say I don't know why I'm thinking about this now, but sex and relationships and hypnotherapy
Yes,
is huge. Like nearly
yes.
all the issues that come to me with guys that are having sex-related problems,
Hmm.
the majority, like probably 80-90% of them, it's mind stuff, it's past experience,
Hmm.
it's fears,
Yep.
it's watching too much
Or
stuff.
even women with trauma that find that they
Yeah,
can't open up and trust again.
yeah. There's just it's like so for the stuff directly related to sex or relationships,
Mm.
it's huge. If people are wanting to get into a new relationship after, say, narcissistic abuse or unhealthy relationships, before you get into a new one, do hypnotherapy and sort yourself
Yes.
out, get yourself into a good space.
You don't take that
And,
old shit into the new relationship as well, because that can destroy relationships.
and even one of the biggest things I do, which is hypnotic, but it's not traditional hypnosis, is when I say to people, when was the first red flag, let's have a look at the relationship. When was the first moment that you noticed this person may not have been right for you? And they always go back to the first date, and you're like, just bringing that awareness into
Hmm.
it and really breaking situations down within the sessions helps them to be more aware when they go to choose someone else, and to be able to make the right decision. Okay, maybe this person isn't right for me earlier on, or to see signs. So working with someone with hypnotherapy can really support, and it is probably, life,
Yeah,
helping.
like with my all of my students, they also have access to love language training as well.
Yeah.
Because when somebody learns their own love language, that's when they can empower themselves. Because when, on that first date, everybody is every love language. But as time goes on, you drop off the ones that don't work for you, that never really resonated with you, and then you start to promote more the ones that where your cup is not being filled up. And we have sessions inside of our hypnotherapy programs where we'll be like, okay, so we're actually going to do a love language session with you today, so that you can reassess all of your relationships. So it's not just your partner, it's your family members, your friends, even just that relationship you've got with the checkout person. You can start to notice other people's love languages, and then have that energy exchange without expelling too much so you're exhausted, but also filling up your own cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
that
And that goes
that
to boundaries.
yeah,
Like we
exactly.
do a lot of sessions with people on creating really good solid boundaries, because
Mm,
there's a lot of boundary violation going on, whether it be actual physical boundary violation with people or
spiritual ones.
mental.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Even communication within relationships as well, because that can be really big. Like, some people just don't know how to express themselves properly, you know. And also, when you're in a relationship of some sort, it's not taking it personally like an attack. It comes back again to going, okay, open my mind to be educated,
yeah.
of letting go, and also forgiving myself that I thought this was funny, but then you didn't, and you were just going wrong with it, and that built up resentment, and now we're arguing over something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How
100%.
to recognize built resentment, what's going on, etc. So, and there are some boundaries that some people in relationships are never going to budge on as such. Well, how do you navigate that territory without building up that negative emotion, that resentment towards your partner? Because you guys are awesome, but you don't want to go to that place where some part of you begins to rot away,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
just going to exchange one version of rot for another. That's all you're
Yeah.
going to do. Nobody
Exactly.
is more perfect for a relationship that you and yourself provide.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your best
Yeah.
relationship is always going to be with you.
Yeah. 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 And that's so, Trish, when people are looking at hypnotherapy, you will find, if you look on a hypnotherapist page, you'll see that people do niche in a way. So
Mm,
most hypnotherapists work with everything, but you'll see by their wording and by what they advertise that there'll be hypnotherapists that really do work a lot with weight loss. I was like that when I
mm,
early on. Now I more go to trauma, but you'll see there's hypnotherapists that solely like there's a lady, Christina, here, solely works with burnout. And then
mm,
you've got hypnotherapists like Vicky that work solely with business and entrepreneurs, but bringing in the hypnotherapy. Or you've
mm,
got the gut directed. I mean, Trisha will have a long list of people that are specialized in working with gut directed hypnotherapy, and
mm.
me with trauma. And so when you do look at a hypnotherapist and you're looking around, you can even, most hypnotherapists now work online. And for me, it is way more effective,
Yeah,
100%. Like
yeah,
when I explain it to people, because I kind of most of the time now refuse to see people in person, because
same.
as you're looking at me here, when I'm working with someone, I can see your face, I can see your eyes, like I can see Trish right now, every part of her face. And if we were in clinic together and I didn't know Trish, there was no way in hell I'd plonk my chair in front of her and stare into her eyes, because she would be like, "Get out of my space." I don't
I
think
think
she'd
it
find.
also reduces transference because we are all energy creatures. And if I've had a rough day or my clients had a rough day and they come into my clinic, that transference of energy can really create some upheaval when it comes to a session. Some people take a little bit longer to get them into a relaxed state where other people can just move. Online, it removes the transference because you are in your own space, in your own room, ready to connect.
Yeah, and the mind is, when I'm working with people, most people I work with for trauma and PTSD and things like that, they wouldn't, they can't leave their house and drive to a space where they're going to
Mm,
see me. They, most of them are housebound, and with their mind understands the house, it understands the noises, it
mm.
knows what it's mapped the whole environment out. So when we're working
It
together,
already feels safe.
and that client, we're working together. Whereas when a client and with a really dysregulated nervous system comes into a new space, yes, we can, if you know what you're doing, you can regulate that person and get them to feel safe quickly if you're with a good hypnotherapist. But for me, I actually
Yeah,
flat
why
out just
have an extra step
work
if you don't have
online.
to? Yeah,
Yeah, for me,
yeah.
it's working online is incredibly powerful. That's why
Mm,
I only teach online now for students,
mhm,
because for me, I can teach so much better in this space when someone's in their own home and they're able to go and have a break when they need it,
It
and
also
just
makes a more resourceful person, I believe, because it's literally saying, right, because some things you might have to print off, especially if you've got a student. So it makes them more resourceful. So they will have to print it off. They would have to fill in the information and all this sort of stuff. And it makes that person go, okay, this person's not going to pander me as such. And that's something I might be uncomfortable with, but I'm becoming a more resourceful person because I am connecting online. I am printing off that item. I am writing this down and having it in my own space, in my own way,
yeah. And
you
like I
know?
said, most people that I work with are not in a position to come to a clinic and have a session.
And it
You know,
reduces costs as well.
oh, they can't. Yeah,
You
heaps of
know,
people I know they can't actually get up out of bed, especially with system disorders and chronic illness. They can't get up to come to a session. Do you know what I mean? And it makes it
and touching base on another topic as well is that the hypnotherapy also can help with end of life stuff
yeah,
too, because there are doulas out there that are also trained in hypnotherapy, and they can help with that transitioning, with that connection to better relationships, with verbalizing to people that you're leaving behind what your truest intentions were. Because sometimes when somebody leaves this world, there's this resentment in somebody else because of how they were treated, and even if it was at a child or on and whatever level, whether it was confusion, frustration based or full on trauma. But when it comes to end of life stuff, it can help that client verbalize what their true
massive.
intention was, you know, and to give those last words of guidance to that person and that apology as such, because they're now going to exit this world, and the person left behind, we don't want to leave them in that negative space of, oh well, you
No,
could never tell me you loved me or something.
yeah, I've worked with a lot of people for end of life,
Same.
and it really surprises me because some of them might be in their last few weeks, and we sit down and we talk, and we're still shifting emotions and energies from things that happened to them when they were a child.
Mm,
Um, or they'd start telling me something that they felt not good about when they were 12 or 13 that's been sitting in their system their whole life, and they haven't had that discussion, and we just shift the energy of it.
mm,
And it really surprises me because they're at the end of their life, and this is the stuff that's still sitting in them coming up, and
mm.
it just gives them a sense of peace and being ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's always a beautiful session, but I always leave thinking, oh, isn't it amazing that even at the end, people are still thinking about things that happened.
Have hurt them and kept
the-
them boxed. And I
yeah,
had
and it's still
I had
there.
one lady I did end of life with, and she told me a story. And she's like, look, I want you to tell this story to my daughter when you think the time is right. And I was like, okay, because it's always client driven. And I wrote down this entire story word for word. And I wondered when she was telling me the story whether it was a metaphoric thing for her. And anyway, she ended up passing away later on that evening. And at the time, I was a hypnotherapist and a massage therapist. And the daughter was a massage client. And the daughter was devastated. Like, she doted on her mother, absolutely doted. And it was about, I'd say 4 or 5 months later. It was quite some time, actually, maybe even 6 or 7. And it was quite some time anyway. And she came in for a massage one day, and she said that she was trying to connect with her mother, and she always had a candle burning and the letter and a picture of her. And she goes, she didn't understand why her mother hadn't come through, because they always talked about that if one passed away, they'd send a message saying that they're safe.
Yeah,
I'm not going to cry because it was so beautiful. That was the moment that I went, now's the time.
yeah, that's the message.
I was the vessel. I didn't know it at the time, but I was the vessel of the message. And I got out the piece of paper and I said to her, perhaps we shouldn't do a massage today, you know? and I ended up giving her the piece of paper because the mother had told me like all the details, and the story was just gorgeous. She said how she was in an orphanage and there was a paddock across the road, and she couldn't make any friends with the people in the orphanage. And there was a paddock across the road with a horse in it, and the horse's name was Jess. And she would go and talk to the horse Jess, and the horse was her best friend, and that's what got her through until she was adopted. Her daughter didn't know she'd been in an orphanage,
Wow.
didn't have a clue.
Wow. Yeah.
So I gave her the piece of paper. It was like, oh, it was a long time afterwards that her daughter came back because, she wasn't quite sure how to process this information. And she found out that her mother was in the orphanage that she told me about. And yeah, and got these historical photos. Um, Went overseas because it was somewhere in the UK and looked it all up, got the history on it and all this sort of stuff.
A whole new world
Yeah,
would open, wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah. And she just went on kind of like this pilgrimage, of discovering her mother, and met all these other family members she didn't know that were available, you know. And I was just like, wow,
Yeah.
you
It's a
know.
beautiful story.
Oh, it was just amazing. But when you get told something, what needs to be done,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So yeah, and that's what I would do when I got the story. I folded up the piece of paper and I had it in the cupboard in the massage room. And every time I opened the cupboard to turn the music on, it was sitting there to tell me that you had this
Waiting.
quest, you know. And she'd been for a massage a couple of times, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah,
And it was always like, nah, this is an intuitive service, Trish. You'll know. And then when she said that, I'm like,
it's time.
it's time.
I'll tell you what, Trish, this year, a big thing I've worked with is grief. And for
Mm.
anyone that's struggling with grief, and it doesn't have to be early, like you've lost someone now. The people that I work with lost people 10 years ago, and
Or even an
it's
animal.
oh, an animal is massive.
Yes, some
I
people
was
can be
even
more
thinking
connected to
today,
their animals than
yeah, I was
people.
thinking today, I'm going to be, and like my puppy's only 2 years old, right? And I was driving today and I said to Melody, God, it's going to be a hard day when we lose that puppy. It's so cute. And it was
Mm.
always, like, my brain was already, I know that my brain was already anticipating, shit, what would happen if I lost this puppy because it's such a little blessing. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean? But grief is hypnotherapy, I'm telling you right now,
It's the
is
ultimate.
it's magic with grief. And
Mm.
it's funny working with weight loss, working with pain, working with everything that people come in with. There tends to be an element of grief in there. We always tend to go back to someone that's passed over and not say goodbye, whether it be in childhood, or it just seems to come up
Mm.
all of the time. When I teach the GT, we talk about it massively because grief is, I think, for our brain is, especially if you didn't get to say goodbye or there were things left unsaid, it's the one thing that sits unresolved within
It's
us.
grief is broken love. Grief doesn't exist unless love existed. It's the
Yeah,
byproduct. And when you have that love ripped away from you, it's like whether it's from an accident or something like that, that grief takes stronghold.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it
It
can
sends
be the grief of what if.
yeah, it sends people into instant trauma. You can feel your brain squashing itself when you get that news. And there's even some people who start grieving before something happens because they know that love's going to be taken away, that connection, that
Yeah,
ultimate emotion. And
yeah,
whether it's the passing of a grandparent or somebody who's been diagnosed with a terminal disease, they can start grieving and then just have to be strong.
yeah,
Don't be
yeah, yeah.
strong.
And as such, hypnosis is so effective, even in, like, so it doesn't have to be someone that's passed over. It can be, I've worked with massive grief and relationship breakups, and like
Yeah,
a
the,
lot of
the
the time, it's not
promise
grieving
picket
the
fence.
person,
Yeah.
it's grieving life that the person had imagined and created in their head for this future with this
Broken
person
promises.
didn't ended up being imaginary. Do you know, the person wasn't who they
Well,
thought
you
in
were
their mind.
giving this person your
Yeah,
Pandora's box and trusting that they would never use it against you. And not only did they use it against you, but they opened it and smashed it.
yeah.
You know? So it can help
Like,
with
it's great.
so many.
Grief is, but with hypnotherapy, it's such a powerful, effective technique
Yep.
with grief. And I know Ines Simpson once said to me that, and I do agree with, and I agree with her with this, and I agree with, and there's a lot of books and stuff out there that are not very helpful. Is that people have normalized stages of grief that you go through, and or
The
when you're
7
in trauma,
stages.
you have this or that, and and they've put these labels on what you're supposed to experience, where some
And
people
the
might
time frames of
oh,
processing.
yeah, and it's like, and our mind just doesn't work that way. For some people the grief process is very short, for some people it's very long, for some people they just need a session and the mind, and they get the closure that they need. It
Some
doesn't have
people it's stagnant as
oh,
well.
yeah.
Like when I lost my cat, I still to this day, it's been like 6, 7 years, I still this day can see a random video on TikTok and I'm an absolute mess.
Yep.
You know, but my dad passed away and it hurt for the first year or two, but he's fine, you know, whatever. So grief can be stagnated. It can be triggered whether you have a smell and then you remember, oh, that was the smell of my grandmother's perfume. And then you're suddenly going through grief again. Hypnotherapy can help you go from I've lost love to I can remember her still.
Yeah, and that can be connecting again. Hey, the biggest thing we
Exactly.
do is we make the person feel that person again, so that connection's not lost.
Yeah,
And it's
and feel it in a positive way that's uplifting rather than the grief loss way, which will slowly traumatize and, you know, completely. So, yeah.
But
So,
anyway, I hope for the last hour we've shown
yeah,
you,
we've at least helped someone.
or at least shown you how many things can be done with hypnotherapy. It's just it's absolutely
Yeah,
endless, because our mind is endless.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
it's all mindset. It's all based in our thoughts and our thinking. So of course it can help. I don't even know what it can't help really, because it's
It's
working with our
all in the mind, isn't it? It's of the
yeah,
mind.
yeah,
So thank you everybody for joining in with us here today, and we will return in a fortnight with another
December 1st
awesome
for
topic.
Christmas trees.
Yes, yes, exactly. Write in the comments.
Heaven.
Put your Christmas tree up before December. All right, everybody. We'll catch you in the future. Bye-bye.